It started when I noticed subtle changes in my relationship. My wife, Emily, had become distant. She was always on her phone, often texting or taking calls in private. At first, I dismissed it as her just being busy at work, but soon, I began noticing things that didn't add up. Unexplained absences, longer hours, and a coldness I couldn't shake. The real blow came when I discovered that Emily had been having an affair with one of my brothers. But not just one, both of them. It was a secret that had been brewing for months, hidden under layers of lies, manipulation, and deceit. I first found out about my older brother, Mark. He had always been the golden child, the one everyone admired, the one who could do no wrong. But the texts I found on Emily's phone one night told a different story. They were messages that seemed too familiar, too affectionate. My gut churned as I dug deeper, and then I discovered more. My younger brother, Ben, had been a part of it too. The realization hit me like a freight train. Not only had my wife betrayed me, but so had my brothers. What hurt the most was how they were supposed to be my rock, my family. I had trusted them with everything. They knew my vulnerabilities, my deepest fears, and yet they chose to betray me. It wasn't just the physical aspect of the affair that hurt. It was the emotional betrayal, the secrecy, the manipulation. They all played their parts in making me feel small, irrelevant, and discarded. The most devastating part was learning how deeply involved my brothers had become. Mark had been using his charm to convince me that everything was fine between Emily and me. All the while he was playing the part of the caring sibling, the one who would always listen. Ben, on the other hand, had been the emotional one. He would comfort me when I complained about my marriage, offering support and advice, all while secretly knowing he was betraying me in the worst possible way. I confronted them both in a storm of anger and disbelief. Mark defended himself by saying it was a moment of weakness. Ben, with tears in his eyes, claimed that he never meant for things to go this far. But no explanation could change what they had done. The worst part wasn't their explanations. It was the realization that they had chosen their desires over the trust we had built over the years. In the aftermath, I became consumed with an overwhelming mix of emotions. Hurt, anger, confusion, guilt. I had loved them both, trusted them, and now they were strangers. I felt like I didn't even know them anymore. Forgiving them seemed impossible, but so did severing the bond I had with my family. The thought of completely cutting them out of my life tore me apart, but so did the thought of ever truly trusting them again. Emily and I separated, but the process of healing was more complicated than I could have imagined. I didn't just need to come to terms with the fact that my wife had cheated. I needed to navigate the emotional landmines that had been set by my brothers. Could I ever forgive them? Could we ever return to a normal, functional family? The months that followed the discovery felt like I was walking through a haze. My mind constantly replaying the events, the conversations, the texts, trying to make sense of it all. Emily had left, but that didn't bring me any sense of relief. The chaos didn't end when she moved out. In fact, that was when the full weight of the betrayal began to settle in. I had lost more than a wife. I had lost my brothers, and that was something I wasn't prepared for. At first, there was silence. The awkward tension between me and my brothers was unbearable. Mark and Ben didn't know how to approach me. They knew they'd wronged me, but they didn't know how to face the consequences of their actions. I could feel their guilt weighing on them, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive them. Not yet. I remember the first time I saw Mark after the confrontation. He showed up at my door one afternoon looking nervous, as if he wasn't sure if he was still welcome. His usual calm demeanor was gone, replaced by a man who looked as if he'd aged 10 years in the span of a few months. "I know I've ruined everything, and I'm sorry," Mark said, his voice barely above a whisper. But I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened. I never meant for this to get so out of control." His words fell flat. I couldn't feel the sincerity. All I felt was anger. Anger that my brother, the one who had been there for me through everything, could betray me so thoroughly. I wasn't sure if it was my pride or the depth of the hurt, but I couldn't bring myself to let him off the hook. I just stared at him in silence, not knowing what to say. "I can't forgive you yet, Mark," I said finally, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. "I need time, and I need you to understand that what you've done has changed everything. I don't know if we'll ever be the same again." Mark nodded slowly, his eyes filled with regret. "I understand," he said quietly, and without another word, he left. Ben, on the other hand, was different. His emotions were more raw, more volatile. He had always been the emotional one, the one who wore his heart on his sleeve. But seeing him so broken, so visibly torn, made me question if he even realized the depth of the betrayal. He had been my confidant, the one I had always turned to when I needed advice. I couldn't fathom how he could have kept such a massive secret from me. We didn't speak for a while. Ben tried reaching out, but I wasn't ready to hear him out. Every time he called or texted, I felt a cold knot in my stomach, and my instinct was to ignore him. The emotional toll of dealing with one brother's betrayal was already overwhelming, and I couldn't face another round of excuses or apologies from him. But one day, after a few weeks of silence, Ben showed up at my house unannounced. This time, it wasn't a nervous apology or a half-hearted excuse. He was angry, furious with himself, furious with me, and even more furious with the situation we were all in. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. "I'm so sorry. But you don't know how hard this has been for me. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to lose you. But I did it. I messed up. And now I have to live with it." I couldn't look him in the eyes at first. The pain was too fresh, too raw. But when I finally did, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Vulnerability. Real, raw vulnerability. Ben wasn't the confident, unshakable person I thought he was. He was someone who had fallen from grace and was trying to pick up the pieces of his shattered soul. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Ben," I said, my voice shaking with the weight of it all. "You're my brother. You were supposed to have my back, and now I feel like I don't even know who you are anymore."